everyone, this is Warlord from Historicon, and this is the first battle of the Fords of Isen scenario using War of the Ling. So here it is, all set up. It took me about 2 hours to do this, and I altered our forces just a little bit. It's essentially the same that I went over in my introductory video, but here are the forces of Rohan. We have Grimbold and his Helmlingness, with two formations of Oathsworn Bowmen who are protecting the Fords of Isen. And over here we have the Herdsmen, the Oathsworn Militia, led by their captain. And here we have Theodred and his two companies of knights and a formation of Outrider archers dismounted. And over here on the Isengard side, the only change I made for Isengard, I gave them a legendary formation to start out with. That's Vrasku's Collins. Yeah, I know there's only one company, but I ran out of movement trays that were painted up. I still have them, but not painted. So I just decided to give him one company. Just give him a legendary formation, so he's got some points of might and do some heroic shoots if need be. So he probably won't be getting any close combat. But here are two formations of Orcs with swords and shield, a formation of Orc Bowmen, a formation of Warg Riders with bows, and a formation of Isengard Orcs with two-handed weapons. And over on the Dunlending side, the Dunlending allies, we have our Wild Men of Dunland, the Hillmen and the Trollshalls, that's what I'm using for them. But we're using the stats for the Wild Men of Dunland, fits well. Over here, we have a formation of Dunlingen bows, and we have a formation of Dunlingdons with shields and a chieftain, and over here a formation of Dunlingdons with two-handed weapons. So I'm already set up, and in about another hour we're going to get started. But take a look at the field before we get the game going. People have already come up, asked about it, so it should be a lot of fun. So stay tuned for the bat rep. So we had six. So as you can see here, the forces of Isengard are coming down from the Isengard Road and have deployed, ready to take the Fords of Isen. And Grimbold is on the eastern side of the Isen with his companies, as well as Theodred is on the western side of the Isen with his knights, a company of Outriders dismounted, as well as Oathsworn militia. So we had 6 players for this. One player was in charge of the West Bank force, one was in charge of the East Bank force for Rohan, and then one was in charge of Elfhelm's riders. For Isengard, we had one player in charge of the Isengard Orcs, one player who was the Dunlendings, and then their third player, he was actually in charge of the flanking force that was coming in on the northern edge of the board on turn 2. So I explained the victory conditions to each of the players. The conditions were that you need to have control of all 3 fords of the River Isen, which means that you couldn't have any enemy formations within 3 inches. Also, there was a bonus if Isengard killed Theodred, and also, you know, if Theodred was alive and they didn't meet that bonus, it's a little nod to the Rohan player. So what the Rohan players decided to do was to move to the east bank, or I'm sorry, the west bank of the Isen, and try and take the Isengard forces head on. So what they did is they decided to push forward the Oathsworn militia, as well as the company of archers that were on the northern side there, and Theodred to move into the Ayat because that was defensible terrain. It gave them an extra +2 to their defense. Now, I would advised against it, but I wanted to see what the players wanted to do. I didn't want to kind of give away the secrets of the game or the keys to the game, but according to the scenario, any formation that is touching any of the 3 Fords, if you lose a fight in the Ford, you get an automatic D6 hits. So if I was playing Rohan, I would actually stay on the eastern side. I would have probably pulled Grimbold back to the eastern side as well, and kept those 2 formations of bowmen to actually, delay the Isengard forces, essentially sacrificing them, so you can shore up your defenses on the western side of the Isen and wait for reinforcements. So here you can see the Rohan player moving up the Oathsworn Militia, the Bowmans, as well as Theodred. And here's the flanking force that came in. I didn't tell the players about the flanking force. If they read the Unfinished Tales, they would have known about it. But here's essentially what happened. The Isengard player used at the double moves, as well as some heroic moves to take on the Rohan forces, and the flanking force easily took care of that one company of Outriders. So Theodred made his stand at the islet, much like he did in the Unfinished Tales, and you can see in the background that Elfhelm and his riders arrived. Grimpold here on the other side, you can see those 2 markers there. He used both points of might. And you can see here's Elfhelm essentially being flanked by Warg Riders. They actually survived this fight, and what the Rohan player decided to do was actually to retreat and to attack the Isengard forces with bows. Since they're expert riders, they can shoot, move, and charge. They decide to just move and shoot. And you can see here the Isengard player taking on the remaining forces on the east bank. The wild men here were able to sneak behind the Oathsworn Militia and take this one Ford and move across. And then you can see coming up that the Dunlingdons with 2-handed weapons were able to flank the Oathsworn Militia, and this formation was easily destroyed by the Dunlinglings. So here is Elfhelm shooting at the Isengard Uruk-hai scouts. The East Bank forces here have already been destroyed by the combined forces of Isengard and Rohan, and the wild men are moving to the other side of the Isen. And so what I reminded the Isengard players that they need to control all 3 fords. They couldn't have any enemy formations within 3 inches. So they decided to charge the Ayat with their Warg Riders. So as far as the fords, I told the players they could only have 2 companies across, 2 companies abreast. So with the Warg Riders, they weren't able to have all 3 charge across like you see here. So they were only able to charge across with 2 and have the other one in support. You can see the rest of the Dunlingdings coming across to the other side. There's only a company of Outriders remaining there, and then Theodred makes his famous stand there on top of the Ayat. So here are the Wargs getting ready to charge the Ayat, as well as being supported by bows. Since the bows can see the Theodred up on the Ayat, since it is an elevated terrain piece. What happened is actually that they decided after the fight here is a draw, what the Isengard player decided to do was withdraw the Wargs and just pummel them with bows. And so so Theodred fell, and that's the end of Theodred. Stay tuned for more bat reps here on the Warlord.